Welcome back to another Geometry Dash editor tutorial. Today we're going to be checking out something very cool, something that a lot of people have requested for me to do. And finally, I am going to be doing it. And this one's going to be more of a platformer one. And if you've read the title already, you should exactly know what this one is going to be about. So today I'm going to teach you guys two ways to do communications with other NPCs or other players or other people inside your level. So if you have a level and you want to introduce like a bunch of characters into it, you can do that and also make them speak if you follow this tutorial. So we're gonna go to platformer mode, and then again all of these tutorials are gonna be super duper beginner friendly. So we're gonna put a song trigger at the beginning because this instantly like mutes the song because I don't want to have a song for now. But I'm gonna show you guys two methods on how you can implement this into your level. So let's just pretend that this is a character and we want him to say hello to you as soon as you get close to him. So we want to add this text, which you can find under here. Go on to text, put it in here, go to edit group and then text, and then type in here, let's say, hello, my name is, I don't know, DS. It's a DS because there's no more characters in there, but actually that's a good idea. So what we can do is, let's say your text is too long, so then you can do my name is David. Let's do David. So then you want to copy and paste that, or you can like place another one and make it the rest of the text, which in this case was vid. And now if we stick them together, you guys should see that now it is says David. Just make sure that the spacing is perfectly balanced, and boom, we have a text. Now one thing I would suggest doing before you get into doing any text stuff, I would recommend changing the font to the font that you want. So you can go to the settings up here and then click on font, and then you can choose which font you would like to have. So for example, I'm just gonna go for this one. Looks pretty, actually that's not that very cool. I'm actually gonna go for font number 55. I think this one looks pretty cool, so I'm gonna be using it. And now you guys can see, because we changed the font, now each character might have like a different size, so the spacing is gonna be different. That's why I just change the font first, and then you can just do whatever you want, so that you don't have to change it later and then all of the spacings are messed up. So let's say we want him to say this. So the first thing you want to do is actually create the message that we want him to say. And next up, what we want to do, there are many ways to do this. I'm going to show you the very simple one. So we're going to select all of these guys, give them a group ID of 1 by going to edit group and giving them a 1. Then I want to place an alpha trigger. So over here, go to the triggers, place an alpha, and then make the fade time to 0 and the opacity to all the way to 0, and make the group ID to 1. And now you guys will see that the text has disappeared. It's still there. If you select it, you can see that the text is still there. And now what we want to do is we want to check when the player hits this area, we want to show this text. So what you could do is add another alpha that's basically gonna make the opacity go up if you touch it. So if you touch it, we want to make 1 go up in 0.24 seconds. So now nothing's gonna happen, but if I get close, by the way, if I touch this, the text is going to appear. But I'm gonna do it a bit differently because we're gonna add more and cooler stuff to it in a bit. We're gonna make like this icon jump and maybe change colors. So that would be a bit too hard to do if you want to like stack up all of the triggers down here. So what you do is you add this trigger pretty much anywhere and then give it a group ID. That's right, you want to give the trigger a group ID, and then go to, let's say we give it 2, and then go to edit group, and then we want to do spawn trigger instead of touch trigger. So now we can spawn this trigger. So if you place a spawn trigger over here and make it spawn group number 2 touch, so this one, as soon as you touch it, it's gonna basically spawn group 2, and group 2 makes 1 visible again. This is exactly what we were looking for, looking absolutely fantastic. So now this is one way to do it, so that you're just doing that and then the name comes up. And what you could do is just leave it on forever, or if you want to, then you can duplicate these two, move them to the right, and make build helper. So what this does is it basically copies these. So now we have made like copies of these, and then it assigns a new group ID to this. So this is no longer 2, it's 3, and this one spawns 3. So this would used to be 2 and it spawns 2. That one spawns 3 because this one is 3, which is perfect because now we want to drag down the opacity. So now if you go here, it's gonna show, and if you go there, it's gonna disappear, which is exactly what we want. Now it really depends on what you want to do and how you want to customize this, but for now we're just gonna do to this one. So perfect. So let's also make this icon jump. We want him to do like a small jump. So we want to give him a new group ID of 4. And now what we can do is we can add triggers up to this group over here. So this group of triggers, we're going to add some stuff to it. So I'm going to add first a move trigger, I would say. So we want to look at this one. This one has the group ID of 2, which by the way, you can see in here. All you have to do is click on pause and then enable object info. So show object info, have this on, and then you're going to see that this has group ID of 2. If you select this one has 3. So we want to assign 2 to this one. So these two should have the exact same group ID over here. So now we've given this icon or this character over here a group ID of 4. So we want to select the move trigger and then we want to add 4 in here. And then what we want to do is we want to make him jump pretty much like plus 16 on the Y. So that's pretty much going to go like that, and then maybe a bit more like so. And we want to make it in ease out, and the move time has to be like that, like pretty quick. And I'm going to make it a spawn trigger as well, so that it gets spawned by 2. That's right. So now we want to copy and paste this up top, and we want to make him go down quite slowly like that, perhaps, and maybe 0.V2. And now you guys will see that if I do this, this guy just did a cool, nice little jump. And what's cool about this is that you can change the values as you want. I'm gonna do a bit of a higher jump because that one was pretty lame, or it wasn't that high. So I'm just gonna do it again and see. Yeah, this time he jumped a lot, a bit too much, to be honest. So I might actually just change the duration of this, and now boom. Yeah, this looks a lot cooler than previously. And as we said, we want him to kind of like suddenly change the colors. So I'm just gonna go ahead and check what this character has of a group ID. So this guy has a group ID of 4, meaning we're gonna have to add a pulse trigger and go to edit object and then group, and then we want to pulse 4 towards the color green, let's say, and then a fade out like that. And then we want to give it this one also group ID of 2 and make it a spawn triggered over here. And now you guys will see that this guy turned into green, which just looks pretty cool. And now you may say, I want him to say multiple things. Like I want him. Okay, now let's just start by actually freezing the player once this guy says so. But to do that, we have to learn about how spawn triggers handle spawn ordered, and this isn't really a hard thing to learn. It's just if you like do it once, like it becomes easy forever. So spawn ordered basically is if you enable it in the spawn trigger, it's not gonna spawn every single trigger that has a group ID of 2 at once, but rather it's gonna do them in a line. So for example, let's say I move this move trigger, which basically moves him downwards. If I move this like that, now it's gonna trigger these guys and then wait. It is going to wait until this one hits. So it's gonna be pretty much like half a second, and then this one will hit. So now if you play, you guys are gonna see that he's gonna go up, stay in the air, and then go down. So now this is perfect for us because what we can do is we can add an options trigger to basically freeze the player. I personally would not recommend freezing the player when there is like a character interaction, because I believe that you should just go if you want to. If you don't want to listen to the story, the player has to have the ability to basically just go and not read any text. But if you want to, you can add this as well. So we want to add an options trigger also in here. Give it a group ID of 2, and make sure that all of these guys have a group ID of 2 again, and then edit group object spawn triggered. And now we want to disable player 1 controls. If you have 2 players, you can do P2, but for now we're just going to do P1. So now if I go left, you guys can see that I'm like clicking left, right, up, and my character does not move whatsoever. So what we want to do is we want to duplicate this and add it maybe in here and to do like off. So now I'm just going to keep holding right. So now it automatically just stopped and then it continued. So it stops. My name is David, and then it goes away because I touched this one. Perfect. So now you have some time. You can adjust the time depending on how long you think this one is going to take. But now we're going to change into giving him more messages. Let's say, hi, my name is David, and then welcome to my level. Let's say, want to say this next. Also, click F3 if you're on PC, or if you go to here and preview mode, and then you can see things that are invisible. So click F3, you can see like things that we have hidden using an alpha trigger, which is perfect. So now what we want to do is just click F3 so that we can actually see what's going on. So we want to copy the text a few times and just do some like random messages. So welcome to my level. And then what we want to say is, I hope you've subscribed. I can't type. Subscribe. Ah, there is no more limit. Okay. Okay, then we're gonna have to subscribed. We're gonna do that. And now all I'm gonna do is just align these like perfectly. And I'm gonna actually do one last message. Have fun or something. I'm gonna do like double of these guys. And now what we want to do is we want to... Now the problem is, look at this. So if I start, if you guys already know what's gonna happen, you guys are onto it. And if you don't, it's no problem, because what's gonna happen is basically every single text is gonna show, because we have copied and pasted the first text, and now every single one of them has the group ID of 1, meaning all of them got invisible because of this one, and then we made it visible again. So what we want to do is we want to give each individual line of these speeches a separate group ID, and we can do that by basically selecting one of them and then giving it 5, and then this entire thing we want to give it 6, and then this one we want to give it 7. So now if we disable F3, you guys will see that these guys by default are already on. If I click this one, I'm gonna not be able to move first, and then we have the message, boom, everything perfect. So you guys guessed it, you have to make these guys invisible as well. So by the way, now I have them like on top of each other, but later I'm gonna actually just merge them like that, like so. But for now, just so that you can see what's exactly going on, I'm just gonna keep them up here. And so this one has a group ID of 5 that we can see up here. So we're gonna do 5 for this one, copy and paste. The next one was 6 probably, and the next one was 7, right? Yeah. So now all of them are invisible. You come over here, you say, hi, my name is David, which is perfect. So now how do we make the first one appear, and then the second one, and then the third one? So what I'm gonna do is I am going to do 2 methods. The first method I'm gonna do is that automatically after a few, maybe after a second or 2, the next text is gonna appear, and after a second the next text is gonna appear, and so on. But after that I'm gonna change the method, and I'm gonna make it so that every time you click, the next text is gonna appear, so you can pretty much just speedrun the text if you don't want to read it, right? That is also an option that we're going to be doing today. And later I might actually just transfer this whole text into a UI text, but we're going to get into that later. All right, perfect. Now we want to use the sequence trigger. Now don't get scared, the sequence trigger is insanely important. It is like you could do everything without a sequence trigger, but having the sequence trigger just makes everything like 100 times easier. And let me just do a quick explanation of what this trigger does. So you know how we triggered, using this spawn trigger, we triggered the alpha, which basically made this text go up. And now if we go and trigger this again, nothing is gonna happen. But in the sequence trigger, you can actually make it so that you can specify what's the first thing that should happen, and then what's the second thing that should happen every time you touch this trigger, which is exactly what we want. The first thing we want to do is show this text, and then the next time something happens, we want to show this one, and then that one, and then that one, which is exactly what we want. So we want to add a sequence trigger, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have like a public something that is always gonna happen, and I'm gonna just call it like always. And I'm just gonna, this is just for debug, just for me to know what's gonna happen. And there's something gonna be called once. So this trigger, so we can do like a little bit of run through here. So we're gonna have to make the text appear for every single one of them. So the first thing we want to do is make this text appear, and then this one, and then that one, and then that one. So this one is once. Always is something like a move trigger. So we want to do this, we want him to jump, and then the next time the next message gets displayed, we want him to jump as well. So it doesn't really matter if we're like in the first text or the second text, like this trigger is always gonna happen anyway. So we're just gonna do like label it as always, and this one is also always because this is also the jump. This one is always, and that one is actually a bit different because we want to freeze the player until this whole sequence of events is done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave options for now. We're gonna leave them out. So now we want to have a sequence trigger for the once. So those are the ones that we are interested in. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select these guys, see the group ID that they have, 2. Again, we're gonna give the sequence trigger now the group ID of 2. And now what we want to do is we want to change the group ID of the thing that's going to happen once. So this one, in this case, it's going to be 8. So it's going to display the text 1, which has a group ID of 8. And we want to spawn 8 using a sequence trigger. This looks very scary, but don't worry. Just type in here 8 and add plus and make this spawn triggered, and multi-trigger is also also always active. And that's it. That's pretty much all you have to do. And now let me just walk you exactly through what's going to happen now. So this spawn trigger spawns this one and also all of these guys, right? And what this spawn trigger does is it spawns 8, and 8 is this one. So it's perfect. So basically nothing has changed so far. The same message is getting displayed and everything is exactly as we want. However, the next time this happens, the next time you like touch this trigger or so, we want you to display the next message. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these options triggers up and I'm going to make them touch trigger. I do that if I want to like not use a trigger for now, but maybe later I'm going to use it. So I'm just going to make it as touch trigger so these guys never get triggered, because in order for spawn trigger to work, the triggers that are going to be triggered are going to have to be on spawn triggered, which in this case is not. They are on touch trigger. So what we're going to do is now I can move around and I can move freely. So the first time I touch it, this one gets displayed. However, the second time I touch this, I want to make it so that welcome to my level gets displayed. So I'm going to copy this one real quick, and I'm actually going to label these ones as well. So just type in the 1 in here, and you don't have to do this. This is just so that I know exactly what's going on. And number 2 we're going to do here, and the second message is going to be has a group ID of 5, welcome to my level, and we're going to have to make this one 5 so that it basically just makes the opacity all the way to 1 in 0.25 seconds or 24 seconds. And now we're going to give this one a new group ID of 9, and then we're going to have to add 9 into the sequence trigger. Boom. So now every time this sequence trigger gets triggered, it's going to go through this list. So it's firstly going to do 8 and then it's going to do 9, which is exactly what we want. However, you're going to see that there's something going on. Why is this not working? Why is the second text not showing? You have to make sure that this one is actually getting triggered, and it is not being triggered the second time. Why? Because this spawn trigger is not set to multi-trigger. Multi-trigger basically just means you can touch it or spawn it as many times as you want. In this case, we want to touch it as many times as we want. So not once or twice, as many times as we want. So the first time I hit it, hello, my name is David. And the second time I hit it, absolutely phenomenal, welcome to my level. The second message gets displayed. Perfect. So now if we overlay this, you're going to see that there's an issue. Welcome, hello, my name is David. And then it's going to say, welcome to my level, but it's overlapped. So if you know how to fix this issue, you are doing excellent. Like there's no way I can describe this even better. So we're going to have to copy and paste this one, because we're going to have, so okay, let me just do a quick explanation of what's actually going to happen. So the first time you touch it, we want to display this one. And then the second time we want to hide the hello, my name is David, and we want to show the welcome to my level. So what this means is that we're going to have to add another trigger to this too and move it down, and then we're going to make it 1, and then we want to change the opacity to 0, which means we're going to change the opacity of this one, the hello, my name is David, all the way back to 0, and we're going to change 5 to 1, the opacity from 0 to 1. And now my name is David, and the second time you hit it, welcome to my level. This is perfect. And if you want to have it more instant, if you want to have the first one kind of fade in and then you want to have it like instantly show, you can simply just select these two, go to edit group, and then the fade time as 0, so this way they instantly just boom, welcome to my level. I think that's pretty cool. I'm gonna do like 0.1 should be good. And now I'm gonna make sure that I save. By the way, you guys have realized that I save a lot, and that's because it is important to save a lot. If you lose progress, it is not that very cool. So I would highly recommend just every, like, I don't know, 2 minutes, just go ahead and double click on here. By the way, this is a cool trick. If you click on here and then double click this one, so it's gonna click yes, and then it's gonna click save, and then it's gonna click on yes. So you double click in here, it clicked both, and then you can instantly click on resume before it even ends, and then it just basically takes out that menu, which is perfect. So now we just want to continue this. Honestly, we want to copy and paste this one. This is the third time, and then the third time we're actually gonna show this text. So 6 is gonna have to be displayed, and then 5. This is very important, not 1. We're not gonna remove 1. We're gonna have to remove 5. So now we do this. My name is David, and then yeah, there's something going on. This is because I actually just copied and pasted them and forgot to change the group. So we want to give them a completely new group, and also we want to add that into the sequence trigger. So this one gets triggered first, and then that one, and then this one, which is just perfect here. And now this is the first one, and then the second one, and then the third one. Absolutely perfect. Now that we have done that text as well, we can simply just move it back to there. And now let's do the very fine. Actually, there are two more steps, and I'm going to show you why. So in here, which is which text should we make go to 1 opacity? So it's going to be the text with the group ID of 7. So this time it's going to be 7, and we're going to make 6 go away. So now just make sure you don't forget to give these guys a new group ID, and also adding that group ID into the sequence trigger. That is also very important. So now, boom, hello, my name is David, welcome to my level. I hope you've subscribed. I think he's talking to you here, but now have fun. And now if I touch it, nothing's gonna happen because this one has ended. And yeah, mode stop basically just means stop it as soon as everything is finished. This mode loop, which means this one, then that one, then this one, then that one, and then it all goes back and does like a loop, but we don't want that. So we want to add a 5th step, which is going to be the last time. We want to move this alpha trigger a bit to the right so it doesn't get too confusing. And we want to have a final step, which is going to be the 5th step. And in this one, we're going to have to hide the final one that we made visible. So 7 is going to hide. So now, boom, my name is David. Welcome to my level. I hope you've subscribed. And if you touch it one more time, the text is going to go away. Actually, wait, there was a mistake. I again forgot to give these guys a group ID and then adding that into the sequence trigger. He didn't say, I hope you enjoy my level. So see, such issues, you have to really make sure that they don't happen. Welcome to my level. I hope you've subscribed, and now have fun. And now if you do one more time, it goes away, and perfect. So now we no longer need this one because the text is already coming and going as we want. So that is absolutely perfect. Last step is just to move this one down here so that every single text is just on top. And also what you can do is layer these, but for now we're not going to do that. Just for organized stuff, it could work. But now you guys will see that there's a small problem. So he jumps on the first time, but the second time and the third and fourth, he just stops jumping. Why is he stopped? Why has bro decided to stop jumping? Well, that's because of an issue that I already talked about. And if you guys have picked up on it, you guys are way too good. You guys are doing exceptionally good. So that's because multi-trigger. And the first time we triggered a sequence trigger, it works because it is also on multi-trigger. But everything up here is not on multi-trigger. So select everything, edit group, and you can actually just set it in here as multi-trigger. And now you guys are gonna see that, boom, hello, my name is David, and then he keeps jumping every time you do that, which is perfect. And now you guys can see that if you want to, you can also make him like keep jumping. And if you want to prevent that, what you could do is give these guys a new group ID and then basically spawn that group ID here, 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 and here. And so that, but that's a bit unoptimized, so I'm not gonna do that. And also having the cube jump a bit every now and then is also pretty cool. So now there's a small problem. We said we want to make the player stop, or we want to have some time going on here, right? So, or we want to do like the click. So every time you click, it's going to happen, and we're actually going to do that. We're actually going to do it so that every time you click, there's going to be the new message. And we can do that using the event trigger. So what we want to do here is, this is a bit complicated, but I think it's going to work. So we want to give this event trigger a new group ID of 3, and then we want to make sure that it's on spawn triggered and also multi-trigger. And event trigger is very simple. It basically just triggers a group ID if you do the selected thing, which is perfect. So these guys are very simple to understand, but we're gonna simply just give this for now a group ID of 3, and in here we're gonna spawn 3 instead. And we no longer need this spawn ordered because there really is no time with 3. It's just one single trigger. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna do jump push. So every time you jump, or every time you push the jump button, we're gonna spawn number 2. So in here, go to the event, edit object, and then input here a 2. And now you guys should see that if we do this, nothing's gonna happen. However, now if I click, it's actually just gonna start showing this stuff. And oh my god, I think the jump is literally perfect. This guy has like nearly the same height and speed as me. That's so cool. All right, so now what we have done is that you can see that if you start and click in here, nothing is going to happen. So we want it so that if you are close to here, we want the event trigger to actually start triggering. So all we did here is change the trigger that triggers this whole sequence from touching this trigger into clicking. So this one is the one that's responsible for causing this whole mess up here. So that's perfect. However, the player is jumping, which is not what we want. So we want to bring these guys back. Now I made them touch trigger, which is perfect because now I can see that these triggers I've made in the past and I've decided to abandon them for now. But now we're actually going to go back to them, which is perfect. So what we want to do is we want this one. So we want this one to have 2 and we want to make it spawn triggered. So as soon as you touch here, you're going to stop moving, which in this case, I'm thinking about it and I think we should add it over here because this is 3. So we want it to instantly happen over here before I even click anything. And now if I click, it should start displaying these guys. And there's a small problem right now in Geometry Dash where if you disable the controls for a player, then the event just doesn't work anymore. So because the player's controls have been disabled, so now if I click, nothing is going to happen because we have disabled the controls already. So what we could do instead of using this options trigger, we can use a player control. And again, we want to copy the values from this one and then paste them in here. This basically just gives it the group ID that this one had, which is exactly what we want. And now we want to make this one spawn triggered, multi, and P1, and we're going to do stop, basically stop everything just to make sure. And what this does is that if you're moving, it's just going to stop you from moving. You can still move again, but as soon as you touch it, it's going to say, okay, now you're going to stop moving, which is perfect. And now if you jump, it's basically going to do these messages, which is exactly perfect. And now we actually no longer need this one, and the level is looking extremely clean. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And if you want, what you can do is you can already spawn 2 as soon as you go on here. So what we want to do is add a spawn trigger and then do this and then do here a 2. What this means is that not only do we want to start checking if the player is jumping, but we also want to calculate for a new message to come up. So we want to do this whole thing one more time. So now as soon as I touch, this is actually just going to start saying things, and from here on, if I start jumping, it's going to do. But you guys can see that there's a small mistake because now it's spawning every time I touch this trigger. However, we only want this trigger to be touched once now, because now this one is going to be the one that's responsible for looping. So every time you click, it's going to spawn the sequence trigger. So this one, we don't want any multi-trigger, that it only happens once. Now we have enabled this stuff and everything works perfectly. All right, this is looking very cool. And I'm just going to do a small thing before we actually continue this. So I'm going to add a wall in here. Actually, I don't think that's a good idea. Never mind. I'm not going to add a wall. So now every time you click, which is perfect, exactly what was there. Okay, so now there's a small problem here. It's that if you jump like too many times, you can see that the icon is having this weird issue. And there are many ways to fix this, but I'm going to use the weirder way. Actually, I think that's like the only way to fix it. But what I'm going to do, okay, now we're going to have to make it so that the icon doesn't jump after these guys are done. So in here, we're going to make him stop jumping by doing what I explained earlier and decided to not do. So we're actually going to implement that now. And we can do that by basically giving all of these guys a new group ID, let's say 13. And now we want to add a spawn trigger to all of these guys and make them 13. So this one's going to spawn 13, spawn, and multi-trigger. Multi, I don't believe we need as of here, but we're going to move these guys here. And now we want to make this one copy and paste, copy and paste. So this one, what it does is it basically just copies the values of that trigger to the second trigger, which is exactly what we want. So now you guys will see that if I go over here, you guys can see that as soon as the message finishes, nothing happens and this guy doesn't jump anymore, because we are not triggering this every time you click, but rather 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row. And from there on, we're just going to stop, because that's exactly what the sequence trigger has said. So now there's something called a min int, which is perfect, exactly what we want for the sequence trigger. And what this means is that the player has to wait at least 1 second before it moves on to the second one. So if I kind of start spamming, nothing happens. I have to wait 1 second, and from here I have to wait another second. Now if I keep spamming, I'm spamming. Okay, I'm gonna spam now. Spam. See, nothing happens. So every second it basically happens, which is exactly what we want, so that the player has time to read. And you can adjust this value as you want. You can do like 0.5 if you think the text is too small, welcome to my level, I hope you subscribe, have fun, boom, and this guy is saying bye-bye. All right, let's say, I don't know, if you did this text, we want to like give you a coin or so. Let's say this coin is at group 14, so we want to add a toggle trigger to 14, and then we want to go over here and we're gonna add another item to the final step, the step number 5, and we're gonna add another toggle trigger for 14, spawn, normality, and activate group. So what this is gonna do is on the final step, after you reach all of that, it's actually just gonna start giving you this coin, which is perfect. So now there's a small problem. If you go in here and then start going, you can see that if I click here, this guy is just saying stuff, but we don't want him to start saying stuff. So this one is not that hard to fix. So what we want to do is we want to add another trigger. We simply have to stop this whole action. So we can take a look at this. This one has a group ID of 3. So this is the event trigger is the one that's responsible for basically making this whole text come every time I click. So we want to add a stop trigger over here, and we want to take a look at what this one has. It's 3. So we want to add, let me just select this one. Yeah, 3. And we want to make it on touch trigger, and also, well, you can use stop or pause. In this case, I'm going to use stop because we don't want it to ever like start again. So now, boom, and yeah, just shut up. And now this guy is no longer going to talk every time you click, which is not that very cool. So now let me just see if I do this and then go back again. Yeah, he's never going to talk again to me. He got really mad. We just stopped his triggers all along. So that's very, very cool. However, there is one thing that you have to keep in mind, and it's that what if the player simply just jumps over these guys? It's not that very cool because you might want to have him like read the story, and to do that you simply have to make this trigger kind of big so that there is no way for the player to not touch it. So now no matter what you do, you are going to be stopped over here until you actually read this whole thing. And this stop trigger as well, we don't want him to kind of like evade it or anything. And there's your coin at the end. So now if you click on save and play with only 46 objects, we have created a my name is David, welcome to my level, I hope you've subscribed, have fun, and boom, the last one. And then you have our coin. Very, very, very cool. Now we're gonna transfer this into something else. Look at this. So I'm gonna save and exit, and I'm gonna save this level as animation text and real. I'm gonna call it real, and I'm gonna do a copy. I'm gonna do UI, and I'm gonna start editing this, and I'm gonna transfer this one into a UI element, which is gonna be cooler because you're gonna have the text on the UI, which is a bit more difficult if you want to do like multiple characters, but I think it's gonna work fine. So we want to add a UI and a camera guide, and what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna bring all of the text that we had. So F3 to see that if you have selected everything like that, and then we're gonna simply just move this text up here somewhere. So we want to have the text, let's say, I would say, I don't know, the bottom is a good place for the text. So we want to give all of this text, every single one of them, a new group ID of 15, and then what we want to do is give this camera guide a new group ID of 16. And what this means is that this is the center of your screen according to basically like this UI trigger, that once you enter, you want to enter in here the UI target is this camera. In this case it's 16, so enter in here 16, and this whole text is 15, so 15, and we also want it to be at the bottom and center. So this is the bottom center, and this one is like top center. This is left center, or what is it, like left, what did he call it? Yeah, left center. So you can select, but in this case we want to have center and bottom. And now what's gonna happen is that there is no text in here. However, if I do this, now the text is simply gonna display on my screen, which is perfect. No matter where I go, it's just gonna stay there, which is perfect. So now look at this. So there are a bunch of things that I would like to say about this as well. So we want to copy this character as well, so Control C or this copy, and now we want to paste it in here, and then we want to give it the group ID of 15. And now this one has 15 in here, so this one is also included into everything that's going to be on the screen. And now you guys can see that we have a small icon on the screen. Perfect. So by default, this icon is going to be hidden. All right, so this icon, so 15, go hidden. We copied one of these guys and then made it 15. And now what we're going to do is we are simply going to enable this the first time you click. So here are our steps, just don't forget about that. We're going to add a extra step in here, and we're going to copy the values of this one, paste them in here, and make sure this one is spawn and multi, and we're going to change opacity to 1. Basically, we're going to make this character appear, and if you basically finish your text, we're going to make this character go away. We copy the values of this one and pasted the state onto the bottom alpha trigger. This is perfect. So now if you play, you guys can see that, hello, my name is David. And if we click, welcome to my level, I hope you've subscribed. Have fun. Now you guys saw that there is a small issue, and it's that this is not really aligned. So what you could do is basically just chop off like everything, just make everything into one thing like that. And what you could do is just do this. And now you just want to basically align everything perfectly to the icon. So basically if the icon is in here, we want to do something like that, like this exactly. And then this one would go here, and then that one would go like that. And just do this and that, and yeah, that should be perfect. Now the text is always gonna be on the left. Welcome to my level. I hope you've subscribed and have fun. And the text goes away and everything goes away. Now there's a small problem, and it's that if somebody decides I'm not gonna view the text is just gonna stay on there forever. So we don't want that. We actually want to hide 15 if you decide to go away. This is important for this method, but not the old one, because the text is always on the screen, right? The text is always going to be on the screen, unlike this one where the text was basically inside the level. And now, hello, my friend is my friend is David. Welcome to my level. I hope you've subscribed. Have fun. Boom. Text goes away. And in case somebody was like, yeah, I'm not gonna read all of that, he can just go away and everything could work perfectly. So this is yeah, one last thing. Just add. Let's spice this up even more. So we want to add. So this one, we're gonna give it a new group ID of 17, and we're actually gonna do all of these guys for 17 as well. So we're just gonna copy these guys, make this group ID of 17, and this 4 make it 17. So this way, this icon jumps as well. So boom. Yeah, okay, this is not that cool, but if you want to, you can add it. Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm simply just gonna add like a small scaling effect. So we're gonna copy the values and then paste them in here, and then we want to give him like a plus 1.4, I would say, plus 1.4 as well. I want to make it like a very sudden one, like that. And then I'm gonna do 17. Was it 17? Have I memorized the number correctly? Yes, I have. It is 17. And then we want to copy and paste that one as well, and make it just divide by value, ease out, and then kind of like that. This should do the job like that. And then you kind of scales up, which is kind of cool. Have fun. Very nice. And yeah, that's our text on the screen done. We have made a player interactable character, whatever you want to call it, on to your level, which is exactly perfect. This is so cool. You can talk to this guy, and if you talk to the end, he's actually going to grant you a beautiful coin. But if you decide to just go away and not listen to him, he's not going to give you the coin. So that is very, very cool. And we have also made this one where he basically talks to you straight on here, which now that I'm looking at it, this one doesn't look that cool. This one's just, that one where it's on the screen is just so much more professional, and this is the way that I would go for it. And if you guys like this, I could do a follow-up episode where I basically add animations to this whole text in here so that it doesn't just show the full message, so that you know, it's just basically every single character gets displayed when it has to be. And let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. I hope this was helpful, and don't forget to like and also subscribe and watch one of those videos that is on the screen, and I will see you guys in the next video.